Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here and welcome back to a brand new Go Battle League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a really strong team in the Open Great League, which is going to be Poison Double Dark. This is a team that was super popular like a couple of seasons ago, back when you had a lot of Azumarill, Charmers and all that kind of stuff floating around. And of course at the time the poison type that was used was Nidoqueen. Let me know in the comments, man, do you guys miss Nidoqueen? I personally loved using that Pokemon. But we're actually running this with Toxapex, which of course was released since then, and we're going to showcase some battles here with a couple of positive sets, and you're actually going to see some misplays by me as well in this video. I could have potentially won all of the matches that I was in, and that's what I quite liked about this team. Even in matches where you get like a bad lead or something, this team is so bulky and has so much play across the board. You basically have a chance to win every match, and overall it's just a really safe and strong team. I want to give you guys some info on this team and some like tips and tricks on how you should possibly run this. Just before we do that, please quickly hit that subscribe button, it'd be very much appreciated. And of course, all likes help out the videos an absolute ton. Yes, that's right, Liam, Noah, James, William, Benjamin, Lucas, I'm talking to you right here. And of course, let's not forget about Allison. If you can all hit that like button and subscribe, it'd be very much appreciated. And all joking aside, thank you everybody very much for all the support in these videos. So first game here, we had Medicham, Noctowl, and Dunsparce. Dunsparce is a bit tricky because of course it knows the drill runs, which can take out your Toxapex pretty quickly. And this thing is just super spammy. I was able to take out the Noctowl, which of course would be the biggest sort of core breaker for Scrafty. So at that point I just aggro swapped into it, thinking that, okay, we've got probably the hardest counter out of the way, and we can just come in here and just go for power punches against this Dunsparce. So that's where you really need to get it lined up. If you do get a Dunsparce lead, you probably just safe swap, and in comes the Medicham again. This thing is a real problem, and I noticed I was running into a lot of power punch Medichams when I was running this team. Oftentimes you get them in the back, but we've got just an absolute ton of energy. I'm just going to call a power punch here, and the opponent does throw one. This is probably just another one, is it? Yeah, so it's an Ice Punch. So I know their moveset now, and I can just basically farm the whole way down. They cannot take me out with Ice Punch and Power Punch. That is the great thing about this Pokemon. So if you do get a Noctowl lead, here's what I recommend doing. Try to get off a Sludge against it, and if you possibly can, you reach the Sludge Bombs on 8, and they do a substantial amount of damage. It is a winning matchup for your Toxapex versus Noctowl, but here's the thing, you don't want to stay in there because it'll get pretty dicey and close. And I done that one match and ended up getting my Toxapex pretty low, and at that point I just didn't have an answer for one of their back Pokemon. In comes Obstagoon, this is a positive lead. I could just go into Scrafty here if I wanted to, but these counters are resisted and I'm going to basically force them to throw energy and most likely go for a catch here. I was kind of expecting the catch, but I seen that they were staying in, and they come into a Toxapex of their own. In this matchup we need to throw these anyway, so this is absolutely fine. And Toxapex is a bit of a core breaker for this team, so I kind of do want to stay in here for a minute. I'm going to go for a Brine here just to do another little bit of chip on it. But again, like, I don't want to get my own Toxapex just completely wrecked here. So like I end up no shielding this, and I think I'll probably transition out here quite soon. So I let them fire off all their energy, and at this point we can start spamming off some last resorts in this thing, just to try and get it low and get it out of here. So yeah, this is a little bit tough here. The opponent's timer is back up, and back in comes Obstagoon. So their timer is misaligned here, and you know, cross chops of course are chunking, but Umbreon's a big boy, he can take these cross chops pretty well, and we're going to get off a couple of last resorts here most likely. The opponent might actually just take this straight out. We actually do get off the move before they throw, which is nice. So this is going to put them in an uncomfortable position where they're actually forced to shield, and at this point I just want to get into my Toxapex. The opponent can throw whatever here, I can tank it, and again, like, Toxapex is just such a damage sponge. We go straight for the Brine. We'll see if the opponent wants to shield this up or what they want to do. They do shield it up, so I'm like, oh no, maybe I've made a mistake here. We're obviously weak to this in the back. But the way I'm thinking is, okay, Scrafty with 2 shields basically just beats about everything. I'm not letting the opponent get to a move here. I come in with Umbreon, and we just take it straight out. So we'll see what's in the back here. This is going to get a little bit close. It is Noctowl, so this is about like the worst thing Scrafty can see, but in the 2 versus 2 shield scenario, you can just basically straight counter down. Now, my Scrafty's IVs are brutally bad, so it might be like a little bit worse in my scenario, but I'm going to go for a power punch right here. And we're just going to start countering this thing down. The thing is, you know, with Scrafty, pretty much one attack will take out, and even though my IVs are quite bad, it is quite bulky. The opponent does go for a catch, which I was anticipating. We've got a boosted foul play, which will just do a crazy amount of damage to this thing, and good night Noctowl. So Noctowl is definitely one of the harder Pokemon to save with Scrafty, but if you can save shields for Scrafty, it can be a little bit difficult to do that, but you know, you've got 2 front bulky Pokemon, and if you've got Scrafty in the back with counter and power punch, you can basically counter for everything. So positive lead here. I don't want to stay in here for too long. Once I said, like I said, unless it's like a super positive lead like a fairy type, you want to even consider transitioning out of like pretty positive matches, because we can deal with Umbreon with both of our back Pokemon. So what I'd be happy enough to do here is basically just chip it, and maybe swap out. I am staying in here. I'm seeing if the opponent, you know, wants to get out of this matchup here as well, because it is a negative match for them. So we're just kind of staying in, see if the opponent wants to do something. The opponent is not swapping out. So at this point, I'm just going to throw up a shield here, and we're going to throw off another Sludge Bomb. The first one, I get laggy bubbles. The second one here is going to do more damage, and the opponent probably was not expecting that. At this point, I do let this go, and I think this will turn out to be a mistake here. Can we get the full farm down? I just don't want them to get to a move, so I throw off the Brine here. And again, you guys are going to see this. Look, I've got my Toxapex super low. What comes in? Venusaur. Venusaur is not comfortable for either of my back Pokemon. Like, these will chunk, these last resorts, but look how much the Frenzy Plant does against the big bulky Umbreon. We are throwing in good timing here, throwing after one. The opponent is shielded up, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe you're weak to this in the back. Maybe it's like a Venusaur and Trevenant backline or something. So we're going to fire off another one. The opponent does let it go, and at this point, I'm thinking, what should I do? Should I save the shield for Scrafty? I'm going to try and get off another move, one. And the opponent, yeah, so I shouldn't have, I mean, I don't know, it's tough. What do I do? What do I actually do there? They probably can just farm down the Toxapex. So at this point, I'm just hoping that I can maybe like almost farm this thing down. I miscounted. I thought it was 5, and in my head, I'm like, right, yeah, swap out after 5, but I just didn't do it. We're going to get a full counter down here, and we just have to hope it's a Noctowl. So definitely, you're seeing there, like, you know, even that positive lead, you do maybe want to swap out of it. We're going to go for this foul play, which won't take it out anyway. The opponent just lets it go because they have no reason to shield. And yeah, we'll just top left before the farm is down. So this is my third match with this team, and that was a big learning moment right there. Like, we just have to keep Toxapex alive in the back, especially if they have a Noctowl in the back. Keeping either Umbreon or Toxapex alive with health. Right now I'm just sitting here thinking about this, like, right, I need to keep my Toxapex alive. You know, both Umbreon and Toxapex can deal with Noctowl. So like I said, if you don't get like an extremely positive lead, like a fairy type, which of course would destroy your backline, you might consider swapping out. We get a very positive lead here. It is a Charizard in the lead, and in comes a Stunfisk. I come straight into Scrafty, and yeah, the opponent's just looking very, very rough here. Even with my bad IVs, we can eat Earthquakes absolutely no problem. So the opponent can go ahead and bait here, or they can go ahead and throw an Earthquake. I don't really care at this point. We can just go ahead and farm down 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I maybe could have just actually got the full farm down there. Again, like, my counting here was not the best this morning. I could have just fully farmed that down and basically had a foul play ready to go against the Charizard. We did get to the Power Punch, and we'll see if the opponent's been counting here correctly as well. The opponent was not. So either way, it worked out fine, but, you know, just in general, in comes Umbreon, which just completely walls this big tree, and see you later. So that was a lot more straightforward that time. We just hard countered them on lead and swap and in the back, so my team was just better than their team in that situation, and good games to the opponent. Yeah, so I was playing these matches as usual pretty early this morning, and yeah, my counting gets a little bit lazy, definitely, when I just wake up. We've got a Medicham lead. Of course we need to stay in against this thing because it destroys our backline. This time the opponent's not swapping out, so I'm happy to stay in here at this point. I decide, okay, we're going to just make sure there's nothing in the back, and again, like, you're seeing what I'm saying right here. You know, we're baiting out the Charmer, and we can take that match very, very close, and like, even if the opponent goes straight up like Power Punch, they start getting you very low after a while. So that's just a good reason to swap out. You can see that I'm sort of learning here how to use this team as these battles are going on, and it's a really good thing that I drew this out, because if this was on my backline, we're in a lot of trouble. Now this thing does no Psyshock, so we're going to respect this, and we're likely just going to go for the full farm down right here. Now we've got loaded energy against the Medicham, so at this point we need to protect our Pokemon here. We're going to call a Power Punch. It is a Power Punch. I just kept running into Power Punch Medichams today. Like I said, this team you'll start drawing out Power Punch Medichams. We're going to no-shield the second one here as well. So I'm thinking they're most likely running Ice Punch, Power Punch, so I know I'm in a good position here. We'll see if the opponent wants to shield, and this will give us a good idea of what's going on. The opponent does shield it, so maybe I could have went for a Brine there. So if they start getting me low, like, this is going to be tough, but it's going to be super hard for them to get me low with, you know, resisted moves. This is starting to get close though. These Power Punches are adding up, and the counters are adding up, and this is what I'm talking about with this Pokemon. Like, the Power Punches do just accumulate over time. The opponent finally lets it go. We swap into Scrafty, and that's a good game. So I seen a lot of Stunfisks in the back. Generally, the Pokemon that I was running into with this team were generally like competitive teams. Like, we get ourselves a nice little Meditite here as well. Just a quick reminder, if you catch Meditites and stuff, and if you don't have an XL Medicham, make sure you evolve them and then transfer them. You will get 2 XL candies, and yeah, make sure you guys are doing that. I've now just about got enough XL candy for a Zoomerl and a fully XL Diggersby. But yeah, I was definitely drawing out a lot of Charmers, Fairy types, and generally just a lot of Pokemon that you see in competitive. So you need to be ready for those types of Pokemon. The Pokemon that this team kind of draws out quite a lot, I noticed, was definitely the likes of a Stunfisk, Medicham with Power Up Punch, some Fairy types like Azumarill. This Pokemon here is quite tricky in the lead because you can't really swap into Umbreon because it'll get destroyed by it. So what I decided to do here is shield up a potential Earthquake, get off a Brine, and then at that point, I believe like from 50% health, we can take this. The opponent does swap out here, and it is a Noctowl. At this point, I'm like, right, I'm going to stay in here for another minute because, again, Umbreon can take Noctowl, but they go for Shadow Ball there as well, interestingly, which it does a little bit of extra damage for sure. We go for the Sludge Wave, just does a ton of damage, and we're going to try and potentially, yeah, I wasn't quick enough with the catch. My counts were terrible today. We're going to let the Sky Attack go, and yeah, we're going to swap out. So again, I was a little bit slow on the swap out there, and the opponent's timer is going to be coming up here quite soon. So definitely my biggest misplays with this team was around the timer. We'll farm up to an extra free here, leave here with a foul play. If the Galarian Stunfisk does come back in, and it is a Medicham, we're going to go straight for the foul play. And most likely this will know a Power Punch and Ice Punch. So again, like you guys are seeing here, like this is why you have to keep your Toxapex alive. Even a positive lead, like if it's an Noctowl lead, you know, you might want to like shield it, or you have to do something with it because there's so many Pokemon that you'll see in the back which this team can't really deal with. I have to shield this, you know, that's how bad this is getting. I do not need, like, I cannot put this on Scrafty, because if Scrafty gets on this Medicham, it's just over. The opponent shields up and I'm like, yeah, I've basically lost here. I've got a low health Umbreon, my timer's not even up. I've basically just lost here. Can I get to another foul play? No, it's just over. So again, you're just seeing the mistake of not saving Toxapex. It is absolutely vital that you do so. Can we even get off like a foul play here? Would it even make a difference at this point? The opponent will reach the Power Punch, and yeah, there you go. So like, learn from my mistakes here. And you know, I made the same mistake twice here in 2 sets. You know, it seems like it's a good idea, like, oh yeah, stay in against the Pokemon that you win against. Here's a rough one here. This, like I said, would just absolutely wreck my Toxapex. We do make a catch here, which is nice. The drill run will definitely, well, actually it doesn't do much. And in comes Noctowl, so I'm really happy to see this right here. We can go ahead and let the first one go. I think the opponent threw in bad timing there as well. You're going to see the opponent throw in a lot of bad timing here. And that's kind of the nice thing about using a free turn move. The opponents can just kind of mess up their timing. We're going to fire off a Last Resort here, which will put a decent chip into this thing. And this is a positive matchup for Umbreon, and we can just basically let this go. I think this will start getting close. 1, 2, 3. So I'm trying my best to throw in good timing here today. That's like a little feature of my gameplay that I'm trying to improve. The opponent does shield it. 1, 2, 3, and we just reach the move. So again, I think you're going to see here that I miscounted this. 1. Yeah, so I didn't realize that they were at the back-to-back there. It's so bad. It is so bad. I should have just threw off my move. And we're just going to have to come in here and just go for a farm down with this thing. So like, I mean, maybe in the end it worked out fine. Maybe I could just say, oh guys, yeah, so just let this one go because, you know, I wanted to come in and get the farm down. But that's not true, unfortunately. We're going to fire off this move. And we're basically just hoping and praying that Scrafty is free now. We're going to swap out. And in comes a Trevor. So this is not, you know, completely over yet. They can only just go for Seed Bombs. And we either have to go for a bait or go straight for the move. We're just going to go straight for the foul play here. And my only hope is to basically hit this. We do land it. And can we get the whole farm down? The opponent does get off another move. Will the Seed Bomb be lethal? It's just about not. And we can just about get the farm down. We're going to spam Power Up Punch. I think that was a CMP tie right there. The opponent is going to further move. And the opponent is just super healthy. Now this is going to be a race between Spammy Dunsparce and my Toxapex. 1. Okay, yeah, so I was just almost at the move. Now the question is, will this take out? This Pokemon is super bulky. They're just about to reach a move. They literally just reach the move and we get the farm down. So luckily enough, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, even in some bad matchups, you can flip it around. Yeah, definitely, like, that was a mistake by me. Maybe it sort of worked out in the end, you know, because it did get the farm of Noctowl, or I did get the farm with Toxapex, but definitely wasn't comfortable. Speaking of uncomfortable, this is an uncomfortable lead. The opponent fires straight off the Sky Attack, and we're going to farm up a little bit here. I'm going to fire off the Sludge Bomb straight away. I'm hoping the opponent lets it go, because I do not want a Moonblast on my Umbreon or anything. We do swap out here, and the opponent swaps into a Zoomerl, which is one of the harder answers for Umbreon. Of course, it knows Play Rough, But as you've seen with Umbreon before, super effective attacks are a joke to this thing. We're going to let this first one go. If the opponent is going to beat it, it's going to be on the first one most likely. And we're going to go ahead and throw the last resort here. So we're down to about 50% health, and we just need to chip this thing down so that we can potentially farm it down with Toxapex. We CMP the opponent, and Azumarill does win CMP here. They go for the play rough, it does take out, and we need to just absolutely farm this thing up. I throw just before they reach the move here. We'll see if the opponent wants to let it go. The opponent does let it go, and back in comes Altaria. I need to shield this up because I cannot let this thing on Scrafty. The counters will be resisted, and we need to just get up to the brine right here. We do get it, and we'll see if the opponent wants to shield up. And, you know, let's see if they can read my team here. They do not read it, and in comes Stunfisk. I'm just going to go for power punches here, pretty straightforward at this point. The opponent really needs to bait to win, and even if they land the Earthquake, as you've seen earlier, even with my 2-7-12 Scrafty, we can eat these Earthquakes, no problem whatsoever. And the opponent realizes it's basically over, we've got a shield still, and I don't even think a Rock Slide would take out of that range anyway, so good games to the opponent there. It definitely was very fun using this team because, like I said, you're drawing out these like competitive Pokemon. Like, when's the last time you guys seen a Lickitung? Can somebody tell me here? But we beat our whole team beats Lickitung basically, so I make a mistake in staying in here. If you do get a Lickitung lead, you could potentially just swap into Umbreon because the Licks are resisted. I do decide I want to farm up a little bit here and fire off a potential Sludge Bomb. The opponent does shield it, so this is looking pretty decent here at this point, and we're going to go for the actual Sludge Wave, not Bomb. The opponent no shields it, and we just swap straight out at that point. The opponent has got us pretty low, and in comes a Ninetales. And once again, I've said it once, and I'll say it 100 more times, just so that you guys 100% get the notion. Save your Toxapex for things like this, because you will start seeing Charmers and Fairy types in the back with this team. And Double Dark in the back against a Fairy type, it's just going to be rough for you to overcome that. We do get off a foul play. The opponent is... I'm not sure if they just reached the move or if they just couldn't get to the move in time, but we do take that out and do take switch, which is pretty much... which hopefully should help us here. Now at this point, I should have swapped straight out, but the opponent is going ahead and throw a move. They've got a Body Slam, and it actually won't be too long before they reach another one. The opponent, I believe, just banged a Body Slam. We try to catch the Power Punch here, and yeah, we've got a lot of work to do with this Toxapex once again. Now, we're just going to keep farming and farming and farming, but like I said, these Power Punches are coming thick and fast. I decide to respect this one and just try to get off a move against this thing. I go straight for the Sludge Wave. I think potentially going for the bait here would have been a little bit better. The opponent does respect it, and that's putting me in a very, very tough spot here. What do? I have to shield it. Can he reach his move in time? 1, 2, 3. The opponent counters me down, and we do have a foul play loaded, but as you guys see, I think this is already double buffed, and it's about to fire off another move. So this is looking pretty bad for me right here. This Power Punch is going to absolutely wreck this Scrafty. Can I counter it down? I just about do. And the opponent, like I said, they banged a Body Slam. So I think my mistake there was not swapping straight into Scrafty. Because if I did swap straight into Scrafty, I could have got a couple of counters through in the Lickitung. And at that point, I maybe could have got off a foul play on the Medi. And the opponent, you know, would have been... I don't know, would they have just completely farmed down? I'm not sure. A foul play only would do, what, like 30 or 40% damage to Medi. It doesn't do that much. So the opponent probably would have just maybe countered me the whole way down. And at that point, they would have multiple Power Punches anyway. I wasn't going to be able to use the Umbreon there. I guess that's just looking tough because we're sort of in a scenario where even if I do come in with my Scrafty, it could either get countered down. I will get off the last resort. Not the last resort, the foul play, but the opponent could just go for Power Punch and counter down. And at that point, they're already ramped up and the counters would do a lot of damage. The opponent had a move stored, but they wouldn't have had the move stored if I had a swap straight in. You know, so it's kind of hard. I think just swapping out was the best play there for sure, though. So we have a Galvantula lead, which is basically a Core Breaker. It knows Lunge, which is super effective against my backline. And we do swap into Umbreon. As you can see, that match gets close, but with these Power Punch Medis, which you will see all over the place, they do make it very, very awkward for you. So now that we've got the Power Punch Medi out of the way, I'm just hoping that Scrafty can put in the work in the back. The thing is, Scrafty, the counters are not going to do that much against Galvantula. And we're going to fire off a bait here on this Pokemon, because this thing is super glassy, and the opponent does shield up the first one. We come in here and just go for the counters, and in comes Obstagoon. So I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm going to go straight for the Power Punch. They most likely have Cross Chop on this thing, and that just done a lot of damage. We're going to shield this up once, and we're already ramped up coming into the Galvantula. So we actually do have a chance to win this. The opponent goes straight for the Lunge here. and we're going to head and we'll go ahead and respect this. We're going to go ahead and farm up a little bit extra here, throw after free, go for the power punch, and you know, this is still going to get a little bit close. The opponent does see MPS on that, because of course the power punches would start doing a lot of damage now. The lunges, can we get to the brown? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The opponent, that Volt Switch that went through, I think that would have got them the lunge. So that was a very rough core breaker team. They had Galvantula, they had a power punch midi in the back, but we do somehow overcome it, and you know, that's just the beauty of dancing around a little bit. But guys, while we've got Open Great League this next couple of weeks, I want to try to make a climb. The teams I'm going to be using, after using this, I think I actually will use this to try and gain elo because it's quite good. The team that I was going to just use, you know, non-stop would have basically been the Swampert Double Flyer team, but I think this is actually quite a good option, and I did quite enjoy using this team, as we get a little landers here for our rank rewards, and we're up to 23-22. Definitely looking a little bit better than the 2050 I was at quite recently. But just before we finish the video, I want to try to gain elo in the Great League. So if I use like some of these teams over and over again, would you guys like to see those like elo gaining videos? Or are you guys more interested in only seeing like if I use a different team every day? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you everybody, and have a fantastic rest of your day.